and I've seen people get this wrong again and again, is actually click the links. So really, really ensure that every single link is going to the correct page that it should go to based on what the CTA is. Okay, so in this video, we're going to go through testing emails, why testing is important, what to check for, how to actually do a test, and all the new ways that Klaviyo have introduced recently. And one really important step that a lot of people miss that is just right there all the time, but the number of emails that I see where they've clearly not checked this, and it can really, really hurt your conversions. So first of all, why testing is important. So, when you're designing, you can really get into, the mode of designing. You're super focused. You think it looks great and everything. And then, here you are in the builder and you just think, oh yes, this looks great. There you go. I think this looks good. You've been deep focused for a long time and you think it looks great. But then when you send it to your mobile, well, all of a sudden it looks different. Or you send it to, Apple Mail or Microsoft or whatever, and it can look different. So, when you're designing your email, it's important to check as you're going along to make sure that things look as they should look. Now, one little trick that I do is generally I like to design for mobile only. You could design for desktop as well as mobile and have different, elements within the email. But generally, if you design just for mobile, it looks pretty good on desktop anyway. And also, when you design just for mobile, you're making sure that everything is quite big and obvious. And again, that's good for desktop. So, if you design for mobile only, it'll be okay on desktop. If you're short on time, and you don't have enough time to design different elements for desktop and mobile, don't worry about it. You can definitely just design for mobile optimized and it'll look fine on desktop as well. So, remember, just keep checking as you go along and ensure that it looks good on mobile and, you'll probably be good to go. So, the first thing is what are you checking for when you are testing? So the most important thing is try to look at the email as if it's a fresh pair of eyes, as if you've never seen it before. It could be quite hard to do this because you know exactly what to look for, but generally you want that the email is obvious and clear to any user or opener who sees it for the first time. It has to be obvious exactly what the email is about. People's attention spans are just so short nowadays that if they are not hit with an obvious message, an obvious theme, then they may just bounce. They may just scroll a little bit down and go, oh, I don't know. And they have to think, as soon as they have to think, what is this email about? They might just go away. They might just move on to the next thing. So I've just got a template here. This is just a standard template in Klaviyo. And here we go. Obvious, big, huge headline there, right? That is so, so important. I see a lot of stores, a lot of emails coming into my inboxes where people are too nervous or they just don't know how important it is to have a massive, massive headline about what is happening. Now, again, this is a templated email, but imagine it's a sale. You've just got to put it right there. Big sale, 15% off, 20% off, huge headline that really spells it out without second guessing so that the person knows exactly what it is even before they're going to close it. They don't even have to read it. The next most important thing is getting your CTA way high up. Okay, so this is good. So it puts people in a frame of mind to know that this is a buying email. Sometimes you might send informational emails and then you don't have to have the CTA straight up at the top. But if this is a buying email, you definitely want a CTA right there. So in this case, it's book your holiday so that the person knows what mode they should be in. So this is a book your holiday email. Okay, so I'm thinking about booking a holiday. Okay, yeah, this is it. This email's got information for me that I want to check. So then when they start scrolling down, they're in that mindset. Okay, I might be able to book a holiday here. All right, boom, boom, here we go. 4 days, 3 nights, 5 nights, whatever it is, So it's not just about making it clear, but it's about setting the tone for the email. And then after that, just make sure that the email is designed well. So I'm not going to go into huge depth here, but, make sure you've got different sections with the offer, some good CTAs, some more sub headlines going on. And then you've got some other menu selections here. This is a decent, simple email, and then browse all deals. So a browse all or shop all, those are super, super important when it comes to good conversion in designing emails. You can make the most beautiful email in the world, but if you haven't got a button that helps someone click to then get to the next stage to then browse, then they might not click at all. It could be the most beautiful email, but if it's not got good CTAs for everyone, then they might not click at all. So, a good range of different CTAs is good. And then some big main ones there. So yeah, browse all, shop the collection, shop this collection, shop that collection. Super, super important. So just make sure you've got those all within email. So obviously that's more about design. But these are the sort of things you want to be looking for when you are testing. Have I got all these CTAs? Is it clear? Is there sections to the email? Is it obvious what the email is about? So that's what you're looking for when you are testing your email. How to do a test, right? Super obvious. Here it is up here, preview and test, but it doesn't stop there. Now I'm going to get onto that point that so many people miss, right? And I've seen it time and time again. And it's got nothing to do with testing at all, but it's this bit here, total size. So if you're in the green, you're good to go. So what this is that, the inbox providers only allow you to have, a certain size. So images take up a decent amount. Surprisingly, links are the things that take up the most. So if you've got a lot of links in your email, it may even just be a button and a button and a button, lots of different buttons with loads and loads of different links, then your email size is going to get a lot bigger. I think the maximum that I've managed to get in there is about 28 links. But again, it depends on the imagery, it depends on other things. But this was a simple email with simple buttons. 28 links was the max that I managed to get in. Now, you wouldn't always do that. This is for a retail customer, lots of different products. You're normally focusing on just one thing. So always check the size of the email. And if you're getting up to yellow, it's a bit dodgy for certain inboxes. Red, you've definitely got to reduce it a little bit. Because what happens is when you get to red and you're over red and it's 100 KB, but then it says like 110, 120 KB, what happens is your email is clipped. And what that means is when someone scrolls in the email, they'll only get to a certain point, and then there's a little tiny button at the bottom that says read more or view in browser, something like that. And nobody's going to click on that. Trust me, no one is going to click on that. So, check the size. That's the most important thing. The very first thing to do when testing, make sure you're not going over the size. All right. So different ways to test. So you could obviously just send it to yourself, right? This is definitely the best thing you should always do. Send it to yourself. Make sure that you view it in your inbox and on your mobile, on your email app on your mobile. Super crucial that. And again, look at it as if you're seeing it for the first time. A good tip is to try and send it to some people that you know. I don't know. It could be the people, within your company, some friends, whoever it is. Just send it to someone else and let them know, ask them, what do you think? Does this look good? Obviously people have varying opinions. Don't get, too caught up. You might know more about email than they do. They might say some silly things, but just ask them, does it work well? Is it obvious? Ask them questions first for them to answer. Don't get them to say, oh, what should I type? Or, things like that. Don't allow them to tell you stuff that they don't know about. So yeah, you could just send a test and, obviously you just go like there and click send a test. You put your emails in or, whatever email it is, and you just send a test. But Klaviyo now have an inbox testing feature. So let's just have a look at that. And all right, so I'm going to have to run this test again. So you can go down here and it's got a few options. Annoyingly, it doesn't have Outlook in here. And Outlook can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but I'm just going to run this test anyway. And we'll see what happens here. Okay, so there we go. All the tests are loaded up. You can click into them and have a look to see what it looks like. Again, I think this is good, but I prefer to send it to myself. And if you do have multiple inboxes, send it to yourself, especially if you've got Outlook, because things can appear a little bit differently in Outlook. But, this is what it's going to look like, but it's, a little bit condensed. And, it's a decent feature that Klaviyo has, but at the end of the day, most of them just look pretty much the same. So I'm just going to go in here and look down. All right, so in this case, that is a little bit taller. And I think that's fine for mobile, but maybe it's could be a tad tall. You might want to drag that down a bit for mobile only. All right, so the text is all centered. That's good, right? All of these buttons are, evenly spaced. They haven't shifted around. And then our menu options down at the bottom, they've shifted a little bit, but they still look good. So, that's good to go for me. So again, you can do that and, look at various different inboxes, especially Apple Mail Dark. So in this case for this particular template, everything is appearing absolutely fine because they've got that background. If you do have a white background, it may reverse to black, and then the other way around. You've got a black background, it might reverse to white. But in this case, it seems like this Apple Dark Mode hasn't done anything to it. Now, just a little trick, that obviously we do in the agency. We use image-based designs. So we design absolutely everything in an image, even the text. So it's on Canva, you can do it on Figma, and then you just drop it in. And honestly, it's absolutely fine. There are a few little tricks you can get in there by putting, some text at the bottom and putting in your the image alt text so that, the email providers know that there is some text because it is important to have some text in there. But really just plopping images in one after the other is a great way to get around the dark mode problems. Because if you are using the Klaviyo builder 100%, then some of the images, some of the text and the backgrounds will be reversed. But if you do it purely by image and just put all images in, then you completely negate that problem and you're good to go. It will appear exactly as you design it every time. So yeah, that's a different way of checking the inbox placements. It's a decent feature, but there's you do have credits, but maybe just do a few tests a month just to have a look. But generally, they all look good. Okay, and then the last thing that you might want to check for is, spelling and, if there's any errors and things like that. And another good thing, and I've seen people get this wrong again and again, is actually click the links. you know, because again, you could be in design mode, and then you forget to put a link in one of the buttons perhaps. And trust me, I've done this myself many times. Until I started checking every single button to make sure it works, you know, I did miss them in the past. So send it to yourself, click each button, make sure it's loading to the right page. You know, you may have duplicated something and then put a new image in, but you haven't changed the link. So really, really ensure that every single link is going to the correct page that it should go to based on what the CTA is. And that's it, really. That's all testing. That's how to do a good test. And, you know, remember that clipping thing, that size thing, super, super important. So if you're struggling with campaigns at all, then have a look in the link below where I've got a link to my school group. And also there's a link to a free download where you can learn all about campaigns, how to design 3 to 4 campaigns per week really quickly. And we've got a bunch of templates in the school group as well. 200 templates that you can mix and match. And there's a course on that, on how to design quickly using these mix and match templates. And, you know, it really takes the headache away of wondering what to design and how to design. You know, I took a year to build my school group and all the course. It's really, really fantastic. And so, you know, check it out. And yeah, I hope to see you in there.